This is a video about the worst stadiums in MLB history. From odd configurations to terrible conditions to just outright ugliness and more. We're going to cover it all, and that's coming up right now. Mile High Stadium, Denver, Colorado. Though only serving as a Major League Baseball venue for 2 seasons, Mile High Stadium was primarily a football stadium that got thrust into action out of necessity like a Plan B pill. What was crazy about the configuration was the east side stands would actually be pushed out, making it possible for the full-size baseball field to fit inside the stadium. However, this clever expansion technique made the arena look extremely odd, with a random seating area that worked for football just floating on the south end / right field bleachers. By the time the Rockies were shoehorned into Mile High, it was showing signs of its age, lasting only 7 more years after for football only. It's now the parking lot for the new stadium, but hey, back in the 90s, the MLB joined the Mile High Club. But our next stadium somehow lasted less than 2 seasons. Sick's Stadium, Seattle, Washington. The shortest lived stadium in MLB history, other than ones that served as one-off or temp venues. Sick's Stadium lived up to its moniker, and it wasn't the good kind of sick. No, it wasn't sick. When Seattle somehow got a Major League expansion team following the World's Fair, Sick's Stadium was already 31 years old in 1969 and was not ready for baseball at the Major League level. To be fair, they weren't supposed to get a team for 2 more years, and Sick's was the only real baseball field in town. Sounds like something Manfred would do. Last minute seats were added, but the overall capacity was only 17,500 to start the season. Major plumbing issues caused low water pressure, and toilets were unable to flush after the 7th inning, giving new meaning to "this stadium stinks."
Oh, brother, this
stadium
stinks!
Players had to shower in their hotel rooms, walking back living in their own funk and disgusting sweat. These were Major League athletes with single-A accommodations. Eventually, the capacity was brought up to 30,000, with most of those seats having obstructed views. The press box was positioned so the visiting team's announcers couldn't see plays on the third baseline or in left field, so they had to use a freaking mirror to see them like they were backing out of a parking garage. Baseball was such a poor draw in Seattle that the team moved to Milwaukee only after 1 year, and Sick's was mercifully torn down 7 years later. It's now famously a Lowe's. It's still somehow not worse than our next stadium. Exhibition Stadium, Toronto, Canada. Talk about ugly. This stadium makes about as much sense as those fucked up looking food channels. Why, people? Right. Why? This was a Canadian Football League stadium that got a baseball field stapled on top of it, and it doesn't even look like a good football stadium, to be honest. Even the good stands were very far away from the field, especially those in right field, and probably what is the dumbest looking configuration I've ever seen. Due to it being right on the water, in Toronto, it was bitter cold in the stadium, even in April, where one time a full snow covered the field before a game. They had to use a Zamboni to clear it off. Just about every adverse weather condition hit the field. Extreme wind, fog, cold. Hell, the only thing missing was a tornado. On top of that, the stadium was a common hangout for seagulls who would just loiter in the outfield during games, just shitting all over the field like the Mets have done this season. What's crazy is this stadium was active in MLB for 12 full years. It was torn down in 1999 and is now the location of BMO Field, a dual-use soccer and Canadian football venue. But if you think the cold was bad, let's try the opposite. Arlington Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Aesthetically, this stadium is not the worst on the list, even though its flat appearance leaves a lot to be desired. And it used to somehow be uglier until 1971 when the Washington Senators version 2 moved out to Arlington and became the Rangers. The stadium was expanded to 35,700 seats, all of them placed directly in the blaring hot Texas heat. Game time temperatures would reach over 100 degrees consistently. Oh, and look at this place. Do you see a roof over the stands? No, the roof is about as existent as my marriage. So fans, players, concession workers, umpires, hell, even the announcers were subjected to the offensive scorching heat. Keep in mind, these are all metal bleachers too, just radiating right into them big Texas derrieres. Eventually, it became obvious that this stadium sucked and it was torn down in 1994. It's now a field adjacent to all the other stadiums they've built out there since: Globe Life, Choctaw Stadium, which was once the ballpark when it opened, and Jerry World. And finally, the worst stadium in MLB history, the Los Angeles Coliseum, Los Angeles, California. A lot of events have been successfully held in the LA Coliseum. The Olympics, college football, a freaking NASCAR race twice, but no MLB stadium has been as weird and as downright ugly for baseball as the LA Coliseum. Rushed into action as the Brooklyn Dodgers could not wait to screw over their faithful New York fan base in a shameless cash grab, the team chose the Coliseum, which had a capacity of over 92,000. And it worked! Fans filled the ballpark. Too bad the stadium was not meant for baseball in any way, shape, or form, and the left field fence was only 250 feet from home plate. And since the Dodgers were finally good after they left New York, think of the Maple Leafs moving to, say, anywhere today and winning cups, the Coliseum actually hosted the 1959 World Series. The MLB was in on the cash grab too, as they hosted the 1959 All-Star Game there. Thankfully, baseball only lasted here 3 agonizing years, and the Dodgers and the city went on to forcing residents out of their homes to build Chavez Ravine instead of playing baseball in an oval. At over 100 years old, the Coliseum still stands today and is where the USC Trojans play. It's just hard to believe they crammed a baseball field into this stadium. Until next time, I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.